No, I think in federal court and for these charges, they would say it's routine, but in the...
What that means is the money that they're saying Diddy has to start paying this guy on October 1st, right. Diddy's team...
And everything we've seen him do over the decades, like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from... I mean, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right...
The latest scandal swirling around Diddy has everyone talking, and it's not just about the music mogul himself. With his arrest making headlines and the details of the allegations against him getting darker by the day, there's growing speculation that Diddy might be on the verge of blowing the lid off a scandal that could rock Hollywood to its core. It's a situation reminiscent of the notorious case of Jeffrey Epstein, only this time the potential fallout could drag some of the biggest names in entertainment into the spotlight.
He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs. So what exactly is going on, and why does Joe Rogan, of all people, think that Diddy is about to take down an entire roster of elites? Now let's get right into it. Diddy has been facing a wave of legal troubles recently, with accusations flying left and right from long-standing civil cases to serious federal charges. It's clear that things are spiraling for the man who once seemed untouchable in both the music and business worlds. But what's really sending shockwaves through the industry are whispers that Diddy might not be going down alone. Rumors have been circulating that he could flip the script and turn on other powerful figures Hollywood prefers.
Right. Diddy's team is like, hold on, we need an emergency conversation about why this should not have been granted. And they awarded him a TRO, which basically meant that Diddy's team was not allowed to sell any property in that state or anything related to what could be used to pay the plaintiff.
Elites who might have been involved in the same activities he's being accused of. If this happens, it could trigger a chain reaction that exposes hidden secrets across the entertainment industry. And this is where Joe Rogan enters the picture. Rogan, whose podcast has become the go-to source for hot takes on just about every major news story, recently suggested that
story we're tracking, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs on suicide watch at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center after 2 judges denied his request for bail. This as a grand jury is expected to hear new testimony from sex workers very soon.
So you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise.
With very, very serious and salacious allegations, including allegations that Combs had cameras throughout his home.
Will be exposed.
Clearly, there is a criminal investigation underway, and that they believe that there would be evidence of crimes in one or both of these homes.
There's layers upon layers. When you get into these conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers.
Diddy might end up cooperating with federal authorities to save himself. In a recent episode of his show, Rogan compared the situation to Epstein's infamous downfall, pointing out how Epstein's arrest and subsequent demise left a lot of people wondering about the elite network that surrounded him. According to Rogan, Diddy could be in a similar position, facing serious charges and with everything to lose. The possibility that Diddy might start naming names to reduce his own sentence is what has everyone on edge. Rogan speculated that Diddy could, in effect,
now, so what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released.
To federal investigators, providing them with the names of other Hollywood heavyweights involved in illegal activities. The story we're tracking, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is on suicide watch at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center after 2 judges denied his request for bail. This comes as a grand jury is expected to hear new testimony from sex trafficking victims. So why is the FBI so interested in
everything that you're looking at? They're all tied in together. Every part, as crazy as this seems, as outrageous as it seems, it all ties in, every bit of it.
Special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which means that any movement within that unit is controlled and coordinated And no inmate moves outside of his cell without being in full restraints, to include leg irons, handcuffs, a belly chain, and at least 2, if not 3 staff members escorting them.
Diddy right now? Well, it's not just about 1 or 2 isolated incidents. The charges against him are far-reaching and involve a lot of different allegations that paint a picture of a long-standing pattern of behavior. According to federal prosecutors, Diddy has been involved in a wide array of serious activities, and the indictment against him includes accusations like racketeering, trafficking, and transportation for purposes of misconduct. These charges are massive in scale and suggest that—
That's not the issue. The issue is, it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
This has to be a 100% culture shock. I can't imagine living a lifestyle of the incredibly rich and famous and then going into this very dark, impersonal, cold, austere facility.
Evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those 2 raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized, that he allegedly made videos of these sexual performances that have been named.
One of them says that they had an interaction with Diddy in 2014, and they are willing to tell the feds what they know about that interaction.
Jeremy Saland, a criminal defense attorney, weighing in.
In the public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen.
In a solitary part of the jail, because they don't, he becomes a target because it's like what we've been.
I saw it posted yesterday all over our social media pages. Cassie filed a lawsuit in New York City against Diddy. Yikes. She's claiming she was stuck in a decade-long cycle of abuse.
New at 5, the legal troubles continue for Sean Diddy Combs tonight after a judge ordered the music mogul to pay $100 million to a Michigan man who says that he was sexually assaulted by Combs in '97.
According to court documents, Derek Cardello Smith says Combs drugged and then assaulted him during an after party at a Holiday Inn in Detroit. But Combs never responded to the lawsuit in court.
Diddy's empire wasn't just built on music and business deals, but something much more sinister. One of the most shocking parts of the indictment involves Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, which, according to the allegations, were wild events that lasted for days and were designed to exploit those involved. These weren't just your average Hollywood parties. The indictment claims that many of these events were carefully orchestrated, with Diddy using his influence and wealth to control people and manipulate them into doing whatever he wanted. The FBI's investigation has been thorough. Agents have already raided Diddy's properties in Los Angeles and Miami, seizing a massive amount of evidence. We're talking terabytes of data, hundreds of subpoenas, and devices filled with incriminating material. This isn't just a case of
I remember, I don't know if you know what his voice sounds like, but I felt like I was in the presence of his monster inside.
This is in the matter of Derek Lee Cardello Smith, MDOC number 267009 versus Sean Combs, Sean Puff Daddy Combs, also known as Sean P. Diddy, also known as Diddy, Bad Boy Records, label owner, founder.
Had clients describe MDC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
Few allegations, it's a well-constructed operation built over years, if not decades. What's even more interesting is how federal authorities seem to be building a case that stretches beyond Diddy himself. The fact that they've seized so much evidence suggests they're looking for connections, ties that might link other powerful figures in the entertainment industry to the same network of exploitation that Diddy is being accused of running. Word on the street is that there are people in Hollywood who are sweating right now, wondering if their own involvement will be exposed. Rogan's podcast has been key.
This could bring unwanted attention from other inmates and be a threat to Diddy.
What we've been told by a former warden is he's a target. That's the fact of the matter, and that's why they have him in a solitary.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
If you got to run to a private island because your evil doings is doing so much and they storming your house.
P. Diddy, this seems like every day the scandal gets bigger and worse for him.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I'm not surprised whatsoever. I mean, I think I was on your show before he got arrested, and I brought up what was going on with him, and because I had read through the lawsuit, and it was just one of those things that was unavoidable because there was so much evidence. I mean, there was picture documentation, there was video documentation. And I also want to be clear that the press and the media and the public at large is shocked by what's happening, but we really are just getting to the beginning of everything. There are a lot of people who have been named that have not been brought to heel, people that were above him, music executives. And none of this is shocking, really. I think, yesterday a report came out that showed that faith in the mainstream media is at an all-time low, right? I think something like 65% of Americans no longer trust the mainstream media. The Diddy case is a perfect example as to why that is. You have people that spent so much time defending this man. This man was allowed to be with every presidential candidate. He was allowed to throw parties. He was hailed as a hero. And yet behind the scenes, everyone knew that this is what he was engaged in. This was an open secret in Hollywood. In fact, when Kanye last year said that he was a Fed and started speaking about some of these allegations, he was simply dismissed as crazy. People at the upper echelons of society and politics knew about this and they were okay with it. Fundamentally, because he was acting a part, I very much believe what Kanye alleged, that he was acting a part like Jeffrey Epstein, in which he was collecting blackmail over various people that were in Hollywood. And so, like I said, we're at the beginning. We're scratching the surface of this scandal. There are some more big names that are going to have to answer for it. And I think also the silence of certain individuals like LeBron James is quite deafening. A person who claims to care so much about Black life, Black Lives Matter, on the ground, taking a kneel. Okay, that's fine. But now you have a friend of yours who has been on camera beating a Black woman. Okay, you said nothing when that happened. You also know that you have various Black people speaking out about how they were abused by him, and you have said nothing. So I don't like the hypocrisy behind that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, Mark, there are lots of big names being dragged into this. We don't know where the truth lies with that yet. But certainly people like LeBron have been deafening with their silence for the reasons that Candice just articulated. It reminds me a little bit of Epstein in relation to all the apparent taping of videos and pictures and stuff that was allegedly going on, and we'll see what that plays out like in a courtroom. But it also reminds me of Harvey Weinstein in the sense that there you had somebody, in the movie industry as big as P. Diddy, I think the most Oscar-nominated person in the history as a producer in Hollywood, where everyone must have known something about him, right? I mean, I knew that Harvey was a pretty bad bully and all the rest of it. And it must have been more than an open secret amongst a lot of those celebrities and Hollywood crowd.
Did you know about Diddy, Pierce?
No, I didn't. No.
But wait a minute.
Well, I didn't know. I met Diddy. I'll tell you, I met Diddy a couple of times. I mean, here's what the analogy I'm going to make is, I met Diddy twice for about 10 minutes. Harvey, I knew a lot better. And I knew there was an unsavory side to him. I didn't know about all the rape stuff that then emerged. But I do believe there must have been a lot of people who did know that stuff, who were around Harvey Weinstein at a close enough level to know that. And I certainly believe with P. Diddy that there were a lot of people that were going to these freak-off parties and so on, who must have known for many, many years that all this stuff was going on. That's the parallel I'm drawing.
No, I understand the parallel you're drawing. The idea that I'm disputing is just the idea that everyone knew, or that
I don't mean everybody. I mean, look, I just think a lot of people must have known.
Of course. We're not in disagreement about a few things. First, everything that Diddy has been accused of is despicable and indefensible, and I hope that he is held accountable in all the ways that are fair and just and reasonable. There are, who knows how many victims? There are lots of allegations. I have no doubt that lots of the allegations are true. And as Candace said, I have no doubt that lots of people have known for a long time. And there are lots of reasons why people didn't come forward. Some of it is good old-fashioned, Hollywood culture, which is people are getting exploited, people are getting hurt, people are getting harmed. But as long as it's the old boys network, we don't care. And Diddy became one of the old boys network. The old boys network isn't just old white men. It also includes powerful, rich Black men. Not in the same way, but certainly people like Diddy are in that mix. I don't disagree with that. I'm very uncomfortable throwing LeBron James's name out there as someone who knew something or has some
well, no, I think,
conspiratorial
to be fair, yeah,
reason
but
for
on
not
that, I feel
speaking.
like Candace was quite careful how she worded that. She didn't say that he knew. She just said he's been deafening by his silence, which he has. He's been very vocal about a lot of other issues involving the black community in America. Why is he so silent? Just because it happens to be somebody he used to party with. It's just interesting.
It is interesting, but I want to caution the audience not to jump to any conclusions about why LeBron hasn't. Again, let me be very clear. LeBron should speak out about this because something awful happened, and he has a duty. I think all public figures have a duty to speak out against awful, morally atrocious things that happen. I just don't want to leap to a conclusion. I'm not saying Candace did, I'm not saying you did, but I don't want to leap to a conclusion that there's some other sort of reason why he may have done this. The other thing here is
I just remember I just remember.
I just need you to hear.
Okay, yeah,
go ahead, Piers. I'm sorry.
Well, the point I was going to make, just on the point you made.
All I was going to say is.
All right.
Okay. There's just a little delay.
Let me go first. Let me go first. The point I was going to make about the point.
You go first.
You just made a really good point, which I want to make a point of, which is I think that the point I would make was when Harvey Weinstein went down, there was an absolute stampede of celebrities in Hollywood who rushed to distance themselves and publicly denounce him. And I've just noticed that with P. Diddy, there's been a very, very, very small number of high-profile black celebrities, including sports stars, entertainers, and so on, who have chosen to do that yet. So there's a marked difference between the way these two scandals have played out in terms of how many high-profile people are prepared to go, this is disgusting.
Well, I think there's another thing here, right? Harvey Weinstein was a predator, full stop, right? Diddy is, based on the evidence, a predator, full stop, and some other stuff. And there are a lot of people, based on what I know, people I've spoken to, the stories I've heard, and the rumors I've heard for 20 years now, about Diddy that aren't always about predation. And that's the complicated thing here, right? A lot of the
why does
details,
that make it complicated?
a lot of the gossip, a lot of the nastiness. You'll just hear me out, you'll understand.
Okay.
The thing is, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the subtext around Diddy isn't about predation, it's around sexuality. And so a lot of people aren't really outraged, especially in the hip-hop community, that Diddy was preying on underage girls, allegedly, or that he's beating up